Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to WASA Distance Education and ENG4C. Yesterday, we introduced you to the personal essay template that was key question number 6 of activity 4, starting up on page 52. The personal essay template, of course, is found on page 53. And we looked at the introduction, the statement of belief. Also included in that introduction is explain why this belief is important to you or how you come to develop this belief. And then the body. The body contains story elements that help you illustrate that belief. So, an example of some event or occurrence in your life where you can exemplify, um, make an example, or you can use as an example of the thesis that you introduced in uh, your introduction, the thesis, or in our case, a belief statement. And that's why we have it broken down into three sections: a beginning, a middle, and an end. All right. So I'm going to start today's class off with another video from the Khan Academy. Wonderful people they are to let us use their resources. Well, they're an educational organization, nonprofit organization um, that uh, believes in supporting education right across the board. So I want to play this video because this video has the elements of a story. And these aren't introduced to you in the actual course body itself. The elements of a short story would have been learned earlier on in grade 11. Probably a lot of you have forgotten what you took in grade 11 and what you covered as far as curriculum. So this is a review then of the elements of a short story, and hopefully it will help you add that into your personal narrative essay. So without any more ado, we will watch this video.
Hello readers, I'm going to draw you a map right
Oh,
now,
wait
and
a
it's going
minute.
to look like a...
I want to, I better, I promised them that I would introduce where I got this video from. Of course, it's the Khan Academy. I did mention them, but they have a website here that have all kinds of really great courses that can help you supplement your um, regular classroom learning. They have math classes or math videos and a lot grammar. I've used the grammar videos often, but this particular one is on um, the elements of a story, which you will need to be familiar with in this course. Okay, so I'm going to start that over again. Sorry about that bit um, of explanation, but here, let's go.
I've drawn a mountain. But it's not a map of a mountain, it's a map of a story. What? You're saying, how do you map a story? What makes a story pointy? These are great questions, and to answer them, I'll say this. Today we're going to talk about the elements of a story, or the parts that make it up, like ingredients in a recipe. Many stories follow a similar pattern. Good readers know what these patterns are and can talk about them using the right terms. And this helps everyone be on the same page, so to speak, when you discuss or write about the stories you read. I'm about to drop a lot of vocabulary on you, so brace yourselves. The story begins with exposition. where we learn about the characters and the setting. Then we introduce a conflict, or a big problem. As the characters begin to interact with the conflict or try to solve the problem, we enter rising action, this upward slope of the story mountain. When the conflict comes to a head, we hit the most exciting part of the story, the climax. Here, the conflict can't go any further. We're at the top of the mountain. There's nowhere else to go except down. After the climax, after this most exciting part of the story, we enter falling action. The climax will happen much closer to the end of the story than to the middle. It's not a symmetrical mountain. The action slows down, the problem has been solved, or maybe the problem has changed, and the characters prepare for the last phase of story, the resolution. This is where we tie up loose ends, characters reflect on what they learned, maybe you set up a sequel. Now, look, that was a lot of information all at once. In order to make sense of it, let's apply all of those terms to a story. Now, our go-to has been The Three Little Pigs, and while that's a story everyone knows, I'm starting to think it needs to be freshened up a little bit, really work on its franchise potential, you know? So let's go through the elements of story by looking at my new project, a reboot of Three Little Pigs, that I'm calling TLP Starbound. See, it's Three Little Pigs, but it's in space. That's a space helmet. So I'm going to put a little story map here in the corner. Okay, so, the exposition. It's the future. Pigs have expanded to every corner of the galaxy. Three brave little pigs decide to strike out on their own, exploring a new, exciting region of space. One builds a spaceship out of straw. Go with me here. One builds a spaceship out of twigs. And one builds a spaceship out of a flexible hyperalloy they developed in a laboratory. She's the brainy pig. So, we've got the setting. It's the future, they're in space. We've got our characters, the pigs. Now, the conflict. Along comes the notorious space pirate, Captain Wolf. He's big, he's bad. He wants to blow up the spaceships and eat the pigs. He begins hunting down the pig ships one at a time. I think Captain Wolf has an eye patch. No, he has a cyber eye. He's part robot. And now we enter our rising action phase. Captain Wolf engages the straw ship. They have an exciting space battle. And Straw Pig escapes in a little escape pod to the twig ship. But Captain Wolf follows. He is undaunted. The tension continues to rise. He destroys the twig ship. The two pigs escape again, this time to the brick house. I mean, the hot, flexible hyperalloy spaceship piloted by the science pig. And now we come to the climax. Captain Wolf comes to the advanced ship. He tries to blow it up, but he can't. It's too powerful. He decides to board the ship, because that's the only way he'll get to eat the pigs, but the pigs trap him in a space barrel while he's still in the airlock. They did it. They solved the problem. Captain Wolf is trapped in a space barrel, and he can't eat them now. The climax is past, and now we enter the falling action phase of the story. In the version of the story that I know, the three little pigs roll the barrel into the river. So I think maybe in this version they punt the space barrel out the airlock into the cold void of space. Or maybe they strand him on a deserted planet. But in any case, they never have to deal with the wolf again. The threat is now gone, and that means that the conflict has been resolved. We're in the resolution part of the story now. The first two little pigs, the straw ship pig and the twig ship pig, learn that they need to put more work into their spaceships if they want to survive in space. And they build fancy spaceships just like the science pig. And that's an introduction to story elements. Now that you're familiar with the ideas, start applying them to your favorite stories.
Okay, so a fun little tale. Um, Three Little Pigs, Starbound. So, for your personal narrative essay, you're going to use a story, and it's going to be a bit different than the Three Little Pigs because it's going to be a personal story, something that you have experienced yourself that supports your statement of belief. All right, so basically, that's how simple it is. But your story is going to have a beginning and a middle and an end, just like a regular story. And then in the conclusion, which you'll be able to tie up all the loose ends and discuss your resolution, just like in a story. And then you'll also want to apply speaking skills. Make make uh, or some jot notes or jot down some notes about areas of your personal essay that you want to emphasize by varying pace, tone, and volume. Think back to the personal essay that we listened to, or actually it's a speech that we listened to, I Had a Dream by Martin Luther King Jr. Think about how he was able to engage the crowd by varying his pace, tone, or volume. And that includes things as well as adding repetition, right? But you just have to watch him as he's speaking and how he's stressing certain words and even that little quaver in his voice all have an intended outcome. Okay? So, key question 7 is broken down into two parts. 7A is on page 55, and 7B is following it immediately on the same page. Let's take a look at these two key questions that you'll need to complete. Write your rough draft now. Okay, so you have all your notes jotted down here in the previous key question. Now you have to write it all out in clear sentences. Don't forget, our previous learning so far in this unit, the use of vivid verbs and modifiers can really add, it can add a lot. It can add intensity to your words. It can add description to the both well, with both verbs and adjectives or adverbs, and really embellish on what you have to say. So let's see. It says once you have feedback from your teacher, all right. So you will need to send in the outline to me, and I can check it over for you and give you some feedback. Maybe make some suggestions for you. So once you have feedback from your teacher, it's time to write your rough draft. Remember, this essay is going to be an oral essay. Think about places where it would be appropriate to pause for emphasis and vary your tone and pace. You will have jotted down some ideas for this in your outline already. Before writing your rough draft, review the criteria in your personal narrative essay pure edit sheet. So this essay should take about 3 minutes to read. That's about 500 words. So uh, the second part of key question 7, 7B, is titled Pure Editing. You'll need a peer editor for this task. If you need help finding a peer editor, talk to your teacher. Ask a peer to complete the document in the following page, then uh, submit the form to your teacher. Okay, so this is on page 56, the personal oral essay pure edit sheet. So hopefully you can find somebody. It can be your significant other, you know, a family member. It can also be somebody you work with. Okay, so there's many different options there. Your name gets written here, and the editor's name gets written here. So basically, what you want the editor to do is read over your rough copy. So this is a very important process to follow. It's part of what we call the writer's process, especially when we are just learning how to write significant um, papers like this um, for assessment or grading. Then we need to have other people read our work for us. So we get other people to read our work for us and make comments. And this helps us in the future when we don't have anyone around following that whole editing process. Because often when we look at our own work, we kind of draw a blank sometimes, especially if we've read it over several times and we miss mistakes that are glaring right there and biting us on the nose. So it's always good to share your work. I've learned more from people like this than in the actual classrooms. um, so this is some of the questions that your peer editor will have to answer. Does the essay have any effective introduction that makes you want to read more? Okay, so you have to think that this essay is not just for your teacher, it's for somebody in your family or a peer, a friend. Um, if you are in a regular classroom, it's for all the other students as well. People don't write personal narrative essays for no reason at all, but they want other people to read them. That is the purpose of writing a personal narrative essay. It's not just to get all of your ideas out on the paper. You want someone to read your essay and then learn something. Learn whatever the thesis or your opinion is. So, your peer would take a look at your introduction and let you know whether it's interesting enough that they would want to read more. It says here in the next column, yes, somewhat, or no. Yes, it wants me to read, it leads me to read more. Somewhat is kind of in between, and no, it doesn't. The next question they need to answer is, does the writer clearly state his or her belief in the introduction, either at the beginning or the end? The beginning or the end of the introduction, that is. Yes, somewhat, or no. Does the writer use appropriate language given the general nature of the audience? Okay, so general nature of the audience can be young people, old people, male or female. Too complex of a topic or writing style will alienate the audience, but so will language that is too casual. Yes, somewhat, or no. Does the writer tell a story from his or her own life to illustrate the belief? So remember, that story has to have some kind of sequence to it, right? We have that beginning, middle, and end. Think about that Three Little Pigs example that we looked at in the start of the class. Is there good focus throughout the essay, or does it make you forget what the writer's belief statement was? Always think about whether or not the sentence that you're writing actually refers in some way back to the theme, the topic, the opinion that you are trying to express. How does it relate to the paragraph that it's sitting in, and the sentence before, and the sentence that comes after? Does the essay conclude by explaining how the experience has helped him or her develop this belief? Then continuing on to the bottom of the document here, it says strengths. Identify one strength in this essay. Please make sure you refer to the list of criteria you develop for a personal narrative essay. All right, so do you remember way back there that we had this list? Okay, so let me go back. Right, so we gave you 5. Oh, not there. Okay, hope I don't get lost here. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Criteria. There we go. The list of criteria are, it's taking a long time, isn't it? But it's before the actual essays, right? When we analyze the essays, whether or not they had this criteria. Here it is right here on page 36. So review back here to this. Remember, we gave you the first 5, but you needed to include some of your own ideas of what a good personal essay should do. All right, sorry, it took me a while to get back to where we were, but I thought I'd better to point that out to you. Okay. Mm-mm. Okay, so about identifying the strengths on page 56, your personal editor will fill in this box right here. I found that the author, my friend, was lacking this particular criteria in their personal essay. And then this essay was strong because, and then you may want to include some of the criteria that were included in the essay itself. And then suggestions on page 57 you might consider. So this is your editor giving you suggestions on how you can improve your essay. We can always improve our writing, whether we feel we got it perfect or not. There are many times our editors can see that. Now, you don't have to change your essay at all because of what your editor says, but you should consider what they're saying, and then, of course, why should you change? So this has to be sent back to your teacher, this form, when you're done. And right now then, I'm going to open up a PowerPoint presentation to review the personal narrative essay. Okay, where do I want to save that? Oh, okay, we won't be bothered with that right now. No, that's not the one we want. Okay. Oh, why do I have Unit 4 open? Okay, so I'm going to review what a personal essay is right now, going through a PowerPoint presentation, just so you make sure that you've got it all down packed. Okay, all right. Now, how do I make this larger for you? I want it to become a full screen. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to download this. Okay, downloads. All right, so I can open it up right from PowerPoint now, and it's actually better because I can go into full screen mode, right? Where are you? Full screen mode is okay. There. All I have to do is click on it now, and it should just move from one side to another. What is a narrative essay? Understanding the basics of narrative essay writing. So here's the definition. A narrative essay is like telling a story, often anecdotal, right? Anecdotal just simply means little short stories. Experiential and personal. It allows creative and moving self-expression. So moving, how do you achieve moving self-expression? Well, generally we can do it in our use of words, right? We have some words that have great emotional impact and they move people. All right, so story elements include an introduction, a plot, characters, setting, climax, and a conclusion. When not written as a story, we have book reports, uh, focus on informative narrative, does not follow the traditional story pattern. When it have when we have a purpose, every narrative essay should make a point. Think of the point as a thesis. If you don't have a point, then there's no purpose of writing a narrative essay. The point of view, commonly written from the author's viewpoint, that is you, so it's generally the first person, right? I. Other perspectives are also acceptable. So maybe you're telling the story from someone else's eyes. Encourages creativity through perspective. Use clear and concise language. Effective narrative uses specific, evocative language. There's a word you may know. Oh. How do I? There we go. Evocative language. So there's another um, type of adjective, right? That simply means the use of vivid adjectives, for instance, or vivid verbs, evocative, compelling, interesting. We don't repeat the same words, the same adjectives or verbs over and over again. So, in a sense, it's similar to descriptive essays. Carefully chosen words evoke emotions and senses. Except descriptive essays then won't usually don't, use a story, the storyline in them. Oh, so using the first person I is welcome in narrative essays. And many other different forms of essays, like a research essay that you'll be doing later on in this course, we don't use the personal pronoun I. Oh, am I done? So, stay organized, have a strong introduction, set the tone and guide the reader, and keep control and ensure clarity. Okay, so that's the little PowerPoint I had prepared for you. Now, let's go back to key question 8 now. Recording the personal narrative essay. Please keep a copy of this assignment in your portfolio folder. You will refer to it in your culminating task. It's worth 70 marks and acts as the culminating assignment for unit number 1. So, time to practice those speaking skills. Think back to activity 3 when you learned about effective speaking skills. Before you record your essay, you should go through an essay and make note of phrases and keywords you want to emphasize. That's through your essay, right? Think about how you might emphasize things like your delivery, for example, how you pace your words, or how you might use emotion. You should practice the delivery of your essay. As you practice, think about how you are using your voice to get your ideas across. Think about the ideas and words you want someone to remember. I had a dream. Hallelujah. How will you deliver those parts so that they are memorable? Be sure to practice enough so that you can recite your essay comfortably, but you don't want to sound too rehearsed. When you're ready, record your essay. Ask your teacher about the best method for recording, but you may consider a free program like Audacity. Listen to your recording. Did you like it? How did you sound? If you didn't like the recording, try re-recording it until you are happy. When you're satisfied with the recording, send the audio file to your teacher. Make sure you've consulted the assignment rubric before submitting. So, my, one of my students just came up with an alternative response to this recording, and that was to uh, do it on Facebook. She actually took a video of herself reading the personal narrative essay. And it was just fine. I mean, that was the best option for her. Now, I don't think she was comfortable enough just putting it on her phone, but a lot of people can use the phone and make an audio recording that way. Now, in a perfect world, you might use this software called Audacity. So this is free software for anyone to use or download. Let me control click here. Oh, it won't let me open it. Okay, well, Audacity can be downloaded onto your computer, and there's also an app for it here. I wonder if I still have this app on. Um, let's see. Where did you go, Audacity? I used to have it as an app here on Chrome. Let's see now. Mhm, mhm. I don't think it's there anymore. So, anyways, I'll show you what it looks like on the web. There it is, right here. There's even an online version if you aren't able to download Audacity. Let's say you're using an iPad or something like that. Um, let's see, downloads for Windows, um, online version. Now, the best place to download Audacity is at the SoundForge link right here. Well, I'm just trying to find the. Now, there was another form of Audacity online. There we go. There. So, here's a version of Audacity. It's online. Let's see. I can simply record right now. I don't know if it's going to pick me up here because of how we have all of our technology set up here in the class. Let's see if it will pick up a file for me. Uh, okay, start recording. Hello, hello. Can you read me? Oh, can you see on the screen right now? You can see a waveform, right? And I could be reading my speech. My personal narrative essay is about finish recording. I could pause as well if I wanted to, and then I can open my recording, and there it is. And I can edit this. There's different ways I can change. Let's say if I want to take out some of these spaces here, I can select like that and delete. I actually have to use one of the tools, the cut selection tool. Uh, there we go. See, I just clicked on that and that whole section disappeared, right? Let's listen to it. Okay, we want to start over again here. My personal narrative essay is about. Hello, can you read me? Oh, can you see on the screen right now? You can see so that's pretty a simple, waveform, right? And I could be reading my speech. My personal narrative essay is about. On the screen right now, you can see a so up here, I can stop it just like that, right? So basically, red button to record, and then file over here, and I can export it. That means I can export it and that send it to myself here. Let's see, export, and there it is right there. I just saved myself an audio file. An MP3 file is a form of audio file, right? So that's pretty simple. This is actually a version of Audacity that someone has um, changed um, and made a different version of it that goes online. So you can have lots of fun with that. The full blown Audacity has a lot more tools in it if you want to use that and download it onto your computer. But this is fine for what we need to do and pretty simple, isn't it? So I'm going to, I want to copy that because I, this one was new to me. I've been used other sites before, but where are you now? Mm-mm, no. Hmm. Well, I'm going to go here, right, and just simply put, well, I don't want to use it on this particular dock. So, see, there it is saved right there in my downloads, audio mass output. I could have changed the name of it quite easily, put my name on it, the key question. Oops, I don't want to open it. Hello, hello. Can you? Ah, there we go. Key question 8, and then your name. Okay, and I want to make that particular website, I want that link and save it someplace in there. Oh, where are you? Come on, enter. There we go. Gonna put that link there, right? Now I have other websites here. How to improve or how to use your smartphone. Now, if you're stuck on that, I can send you this video. Now, I can't play this particular video, okay? Otherwise, I might get in trouble with the YouTube police or the Google police. So, but this is available. It says 4 tips to improve your audio and recording with your smartphone. And what's the other one? A complete guide to using um, mastering audio editing basics. All right, so if you're struggling with finding um, something to take your or to um, make an audio file with, then just contact me. So to finish up, though, here's the rubric that you want to have a look at, and of course you want to achieve a level 4. This is what you're being assessed on. The student demonstrates an excellent knowledge of the elements of a personal narrative essay. The student demonstrates excellent use of feedback to improve the essay. That will be from your peer editor. The student demonstrates excellent speaking skills in the recording. And the student applies knowledge of personal narrative essay elements with a high degree of effectiveness. So, these are all of the different categories you are being assessed on: knowledge, thinking, communication, and application. Well, that's all we need to cover for today. And basically, we have covered unit number 1. We'll do a short review of the personal narrative essay in Monday's class and then start in on unit number 2. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the class, found it informative, and will be there to join us on Monday at the same time. So have a great weekend, everyone, and we will talk to you then. Bye for now.